When you deal with pre-release software, sometimes the designers introduce breaking changes. This is one of those times. After I completed the video on Blazor, a new change was released just a day later that broke my demo. In this video, I'm going to show you how to upgrade my code to work with the latest preview. Now, if you haven't watched my previous Intro to Blazor video, do that first. This video is not going to recreate that video. It's just going to update the source code. Okay, now I'm also going to have a link in the description for this source code after I fix it. So if you want that latest source code, you can click on the link down there to get that. Let's jump right into the source code now. So if you run this application, or try to, you're going to get a list of errors that looks something like this. And it talks about layout attribute does not exist, which layout attribute. I can see why you might have changed that. And if you scroll down here, there's also, it says that it couldn't find the DLL, and that's because it couldn't create the components. So let's double click on one of them, and it takes us to this code in here. And it says this layout attribute is a problem. Well, this code isn't something we created. Notice the name is index.razor.g.cs, and that's part of .NET Standard 2.0. So it's not something that we have control over. So how do we change this? Well, we don't actually. But the problem here is that there's been some changes in how things are named and how things work. So the first fix we're going to do is we're going to add 2 NuGet packages. Now the first one is Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.Blazor.DevServer. Notice I'm in Preview 8. So if you don't have Preview 8 yet, this won't apply. You can watch the previous video, and that will work just fine with Preview 7. But with Preview 8, this is where you need this NuGet package. And we need one more. And just take off the end where it says dev server, because the rest of the path is the same. And this one is HTTP client. Grab that one as well. So now we have these two. Also, come over here, clear this out, and you'll see there's 2 updates to be done. Update those to the latest version. And then in the server, right-click and go to Manage NuGet Packages. And you go to Updates, select all, and say Update. That updates all those packages to the latest version. Now, if we do a build on this, and wait for it to complete, we have less errors, but we still have an error. And the error right here is, this first one is fetch data on init async, no suitable method found to override. We double click it. It says this method right here, which we're overriding, it's not there. Well, what do? Well, what we can do is do protected override and see what the list is. And one of them is on initialized async. So they took init and changed it to initialized. So we can remove that extra line and now use this line. Cool. That's one error resolved, or it should be. And then we have this type or namespace layouts does not exist in the namespace of components. This line right here. Well, take it out. And that's in the _imports.razor file. We'll save all those and build again. And once that's done building, and still thinking about it, the build now succeeds, and if we hit the run button, we should see that the client pops up and it should run our application. So we have it still zoomed in, that's fine. Go to our counter, that works. Fetch data, fetches the data. People, pauses for a minute, and then it loads this list. If we change Tim to Timothy, it still changes up here. We can buy now and change to the dizzy face, go from green happy face to the frowny face, the orange one. So this all works now. So just those quick little fixes change this application and make it work. Now you may wonder, well, how do you ever know to do that? And it's not magic. It's not like I have this somehow intuition into what a Microsoft developer would do. I don't. In fact, I clearly don't when it comes to some things. I just can't figure it out. But what I did was I went to Visual Studio and I created a new solution. And let's just drag this over here. This is the new solution I created. Just Blazor App 1, which I'll show you that in just a minute. But I popped it open because this one runs. So I popped it open and noticed these two extra NuGet packages. And I went to their fetch data. I noticed that on initialize async, and it was still using the get JSON async. Mine was throwing an error at one point, and that's because it needed this blazor.http client NuGet package. So that's what resolved that. Now, let's do this. Let's do a closed solution, and we're going to create a new project, a Blazor app. Notice if I type Blazor in here, I get the Blazor app and I get the core web application in C#. This is the one we did in the video, but if you go next on this and just say, that's fine, we'll keep the default name, there is no Blazor template here, which really had me scratching my head because it was there in Preview 7, but it's not there in Preview 8. Well, if you go back, it is Blazor app itself. It's got its own high-level template, not the low-level inside of web application. If we hit next, Blazor app 2 is fine. And then we have our option of a server app or a WebAssembly app. The WebAssembly app is that front-end user interface. The server app is the side that sends information or kind of controls the client. So I just created this WebAssembly app. This is the client-side Blazor stuff. And when it created that template for me that I can run right away, and it looks very similar to the app we started from in the previous video. So if we start this, there we go. There's our counter, and there's our fetch data. Now notice that we have our Blazor information for our client, but we don't have a server here. This is just the client side. If you go to fetch data, it's not calling an API. It's just calling a JSON file in sample data, which I believe is right here. Yep, there you go. So it's just calling that information instead of calling an API because it has no API. So if you wanted to add server side, you could right click and say add new project and either do an API or a Blazor application. Let's call it Blazor 1, server app, and then from there you can have your server side of things. So there's your counter and all the rest, and this is more towards what we were doing in the other demo, but just it's different. So this is what I talk about with breaking changes. When you're doing a preview apps, this is why I held off for so long on even showing Blazor. Preview applications are meant to just kind of show you, hey, this is what this particular thing does, but it may change radically from one to the other, and this kind of has. And that's okay. We want to give the freedom to the developers to not be locked in and say, oh, I can't change anything because it will break someone's production application. Nope. Change it all, break it all, that's fine. And that's kind of the reason why they say do not use this in production. This is just for development. This is just for playing around with it and seeing how it's going to work, getting comfortable with the syntax, maybe even giving feedback to Microsoft where you say, you know what, I don't think this is right, or I'd like to see something different. For example, my guess is somewhere down the line, they looked at this that was on init async and say, you know what, no. Let's not abbreviate that. Let's make it initialized. And they can have the freedom to just do that. And even though it breaks our demos, it doesn't break real applications. So that's why we gotta be cautious about this. I said in the previous video, I'm gonna say it again, don't create a real application in Blazor yet. It's so tempting to because there's such great power here. And I've only just scratched the surface of the power. One of the things people keep bringing up that I mentioned once, but I'll mention again, is, well, there's not a lot of stuff for Blazor out there, but there's so much stuff for JavaScript, it will never catch up. Well, actually, Blazor can run JavaScript libraries just fine. So Blazor already has all those libraries available to it that it can call. So it's already really mature in a lot of ways because it has all that power to pull from all those different JavaScript projects on the web. And then it just runs the C# to interact with it. So there's a lot here, but there's a lot still changing. And I've heard someone put in the comments that they'd heard in the first or second quarter of next year, 2020, that this might be released in production, the client side of Blazor. So just kind of hold off on doing anything for a while. We'll probably see a release candidate version coming out at the end of the year maybe, or early next year. And when that happens, I'll definitely have some more stuff on this. I'll still do some more Blazor stuff, but this is kind of the reason why we don't just do preview stuff a lot. Okay? So with that being said, this source code from our demo does work, and it does still do the same things it used to do. Okay? So those few changes based upon looking at the new templates, comparing them, and tweaking some things allows us to get back up and running. All right? I hope you enjoy it. I hope you really play around with it, try it out, try out the various parts of it, and just get, kind of introduced to it so that you're ready later on and maybe make some choices for upcoming projects about, hey, maybe that's an option, if we're doing something next year that we could use this. All right, thanks for watching, and as always, I am Tim Corey.